In the plane, the pilot talks to the co-pilot. After I drink my coffee, I'm going to make love to that blonde stewardess. The stewardess hears and runs to tell the pilot that she forgot the open microphone and it can be heard throughout the plane. About halfway through the aircraft, an old man stops it. "Why are you running like that, young lady? Let the man drink his coffee at least." A guy goes with his wife to have dinner at a restaurant. By mistake, the plate of soup spills on her new dress. Angry and waiting to be consoled by her romantic husband, she says, "Look how I look like a sow." He answers, "Yes, and you got dirty on top of that." It's on a girl on the street gets the following response. "I have a husband at home." "You jerk. I also have a TV at home, but I also go to the cinema." Husband and wife are talking. She, dissatisfied with social life, tells him, "Invite me to a restaurant, a bar, something." "I don't go out with married women, but I am your wife. I make no exceptions." "Come on, John, what gift should I get you for your birthday?" "Susie, dear, love me and be faithful to me. Is too late, I took a pair of socks." One day, a man asks a doctor, "Doctor, I'm blonde. My wife is brunette. Where did this red-haired child of ours come from?" The amazed doctor asks him, "Do you see your wife at least once in the evening?" No, it's often." "But once a week?" "No, it's often." "But once a month?" "No, doctor, it's often." "When do you see your wife?" "I have it once every half year." "Then you know it's from rust." A woman dies and arrives at the gates of heaven where she meets St. Peter, when suddenly a terrible howl is heard coming from heaven. "Oh my, what's going on there?" says the woman. "Ah, don't worry about that. We're drilling someone's shoulder blades to put angel wings on them." The woman, clearly disturbed by this fact, takes a step back, when suddenly another howl. "Woe is me, but what happened?" asks the woman. "Oh, it's nothing. We drill someone's head to mount his aura." The woman, shaking her head in disapproval, says, "I can't do that. I'm going down to hell." "Alas, but you cannot do such a thing. You will be raped and sodomized." To which the woman replies, "Of course, but at least I already have the holes made." At a table in a bar, a man is sitting down the throat of glass after glass. After each glass, he looks in his shirt pocket and asks for another. Intrigued, the bartender asks him what he's doing. "Why do you keep looking in your shirt pocket after every drink?" "I have a picture of my wife there. When I think it's beautiful, I go home." Two Indians were walking through the forest when at one point they saw the smoke rising from a fire. The first says, "What does the message say?" "Nothing important, just adds, 'Do you know the difference between courage and stupidity?' Courage means coming home at midnight, seeing your wife waiting for you with a broom in her hand and asking her, 'Are you still cleaning or are you getting ready to take off?' It's crazy when you come home at midnight, covered in a cloud of perfume, with traces of lipstick on your clothes. You see your wife waiting for you with a broom in her hand, and you say to her, 'Don't get angry. You are next.'" Two girls on a park bench. "Did you hear, girl, that it's fashionable now to have sex in the ear?" "Oh, dear, but isn't it dangerous? What if you become deaf?" "What, girl? Have you remained silent until now?" A young man, accompanied by his father, was boarding a very crowded tram. At one point, the young man says, "Father, we'd better take a taxi. You too, look at how crowded it is." Father: "Leave the spell. If you were at the disco, you'd say it's cool, the atmosphere." On his birthday, the husband receives from his wife a shampoo against hair loss. "But my hair doesn't fall out, baby." "It's okay. Give it to your colleague. She likes it." A newspaper seller was shouting in the street, big scam, 12 victims." An individual buys the newspaper, flips through it, and says, "Okay, sir, don't write anything about a scam." The newsboy continues to shout, big scam, 13 victims." A blonde is talking on the phone with her best friend. "I gained 3 kilograms. "But from what?" the friend wondered. "I think from the seals. The fridge door magnets keep drawing me into the kitchen. John goes fishing for as long as he can, but he doesn't catch anything. God, if you give me a big fish, I'll take half to the church." It didn't take long for him to catch a 10-kilogram fish. That's it. I don't take anything to the church anymore. The fish struggles and falls into the water. Dissatisfied, John shouted to the sky, "God, you don't know the joke anymore?" Some crazy people were being flown to another hospital. The doctor was sitting in the cockpit. At one point, he comes to check what the crazy people were doing. They were playing football. To see if they are all there, he counts them and sees that one is missing. "Well, you fools, where is George?" "On the wing of the plane. Execute the corner." A guy and his wife were arguing early at breakfast. "And if you want to know, you're not very good in bed either," she tells him and leaves for work, slamming the door. At noon, he starts to feel sorry and calls home. "What took you so long to answer?" she told him. "I was in bed." "And what were you doing in bed at this hour?" "I was asking for a second opinion." A slightly tipsy guy in a bar tries to pick up a girl. He, "Do you want a whiskey?" It, "Just a finger." He, "Don't you want a whiskey first?" So, the thief stole your earrings, gold bracelet, and chain from your neck? "Yes, police officer." "And why didn't you call for help?" "I hoped he would rape me, but he did nothing." A man, in an advanced state of intoxication, enters the church at the very moment when the priest is baptizing some future Christians. The priest noticed him and asked him if he wanted to find Jesus. "Yes, I want to find Jesus," answered the drunk for sure. He hadn't even finished his speech when the priest grabbed him by the head and put him in the baptistery. He picks it up. The man takes a breath and mumbles, "Damn it, Father, are you sure it fell there?" 3 co-workers were discussing their boss during the coffee break because they were angry with him. The first says, "I put salt in the sugar bowl." The second says, "I hid the toilet paper from the bathroom." The third says, "I pierced all the condoms in the drawer with a needle." Immediately, the first 2 passed out. 2 days ago, I was invited to a party with only women, and I promised my husband that I would be back at 12 at night. The hours were passing. We were feeling good. The champagne was flowing. So only around 3 in the morning I headed home, completely drunk. Just when I reached the door, the cuckoo clock in the hall of the house started to sing 3 times. Realizing that my husband will wake up and hear him, I did cuckoo 9 more times. I was very proud of what a brilliant idea I had, even while drunk, to avoid a family conflict. The next morning, my husband asked me what time I came, and when I told him it was 12, he didn't seem very surprised. "Oof, I escaped," I said to myself. After a while, however, he told me that we need to buy a new cuckoo clock. I asked him why. "Well, tonight the cuckoo sang 3 times, then he said, 'Damn it,' sang 4 more times, straightened his voice, sang 3 more times, laughed, sang 2 more times, after which he laughed for a quarter of an hour. A girl with a dog stops a taxi, puts the dog in the front seat. She sits in the back. The taxi driver turns around and asks, 'And where are we taking this bitch?' Irritated girl, 'It's not a bitch, it's a dog.' Excuse me, but I asked him, 'What's with that bruise on your eye, George?' 'Whatever, I got really drunk yesterday.' 'And you fell?' 'No, my wife came to the bar after me.' 'So what does this have to do with the bruise?' Well, he has, because I asked him for his phone number. A motorcyclist was spinning his motorcycle around a restaurant saying, 'Who has a motorcycle like mine?' Another 2 hours pass in which he keeps turning around and saying the same thing. Finally, someone from the restaurant comes out and says, 'Why are you bragging so much about your motorcycle?' 'I'm not bragging. Who has a motorcycle like mine? Because I don't know how to stop it.' The sexology teacher, according to statistics, 18% of women, they want sex all the time, 23% love oral sex, 38% they cheat on their husbands. A student, to hell with statistics, we need names, addresses, and phone numbers. A boss arrives at the office in the morning with his pants unzipped. The secretary, not knowing how to address him directly, approaches him. 'Boss, this morning, when you left home, did you close the garage door?' The phrase didn't have the gift to enlighten him, so the guy entered the office a little confused. He sits down at the desk, starts to go about his business, and sees the mess undone. At that moment, he has a revelation about the secretary's words, so he thinks of bothering her a little. He calls her to the office to bring her a coffee and asks her, "When you saw the garage door open, did you also see my Jaguar?" The secretary, smiling for a moment, answers, "No, boss. All I saw was a Mini with 2 deflated tires. We are talking about 3 children. The first says, 'There are 3 of us in the family and everyone has their own room.' The second says, 'There are 5 of us in the family and everyone has their own bike.' The third, 'There are 7 of us in the family and each one has his own father.'" "You have an endogenous neurosis," said the doctor. "How do you spend your free time?" "I stay at home all the time." "Why don't you find a woman to go out with to have fun? Wouldn't you like it?" "Yes, I would like it." "Then why don't you do it? Are you shy?" "No, but my wife won't leave me." The employee. "Boss, did you call me?" The boss. "Yes, go to the bathroom quickly and masturbate." The employee, after a few minutes. "Done, boss." The boss. "Go one more time." The employee, after a few minutes. "Done, boss, and the second time." The boss. "Go one more time and that's it." The employee. "I can't take it anymore. I can't get up anymore." The boss. "Well, then take my car keys from here and take my daughter home." An actor finishes filming a scene in the movie, sits down in a chair, and sees a stranger nearby. He notices that he looks a bit like him and asks, "Excuse me, who are you?" The man stands up, extends his hand, and says, "My name is John, and I am your double. I will replace you in the dangerous scenes." The actor shakes his hand and says, "Perfect. I would like you to stop by my wife and explain to her where I was last night. 2 policemen find 3 grenades in a ditch." First policeman. "What do we do with them?" Second policeman. "We're taking them to the station." First cop. "What if one explodes on the way?" Second policeman. "We say we only found 2. At the insane asylum, doctors test patients. How much is 2 plus 2? 56. Unfortunately, no." Next. "How much is 2 plus 2? Saturday. No. Next. "How much is 2 plus 2? 4. Exactly. "How did you figure it out?" "I dropped from 56 on Saturday." "Son, your mother cooked the same food again. Go and tell her that there are more dishes in the cookbook." "I already told him." "And what did he say?" "That there are several positions in the Kama Sutra as well." Jane arrives in the jungle, and when she catches sight of Tarzan, hunky and vigorous, she gets goosebumps, and 1,000 thoughts run through her head. "Hey, Tarzan. Yes, you... A single man out here in the jungle. How do you deal with love?" "Yes. What is that, love?" Jane explains roughly what it's all about, to which Tarzan, "Well, with that tree, with a small hollow." "Wow, Tarzan, is it possible for you beauty of a man to perish on a hollow in a tree?" And Jane undresses. She lies down on the grass. Tarzan looks carefully, then he picks up his pace and pulls Jane's leg in the sensitive area. The girl sees green stars. "Why did you do that?" asks Jane, writhing in pain. Tarzan always checks for bees. A blonde in a restaurant orders, "A pizza, please." "With the greatest pleasure, young lady. Do you want it in 4 or 8 pieces?" "In 4 pieces, please. I can't eat 8. It's too much." I went to my friend's house with a huge bouquet of roses. He opened the door, saw the flowers, and pulled me inside. She lay down on the couch, took off her skirt, pulled off her panties, and said to me, "This is for the flowers." "Stop the nonsense, dear," I told her. "There must be a vase somewhere." After long searches, a young man manages to find the chosen one of his soul as he wanted, pure, innocent, diaphanous, virgin. On the night of the wedding, he subjects her to a final test. He puts on a fluorescent green condom and approaches the bride. "My love, why do you have a green penis?" "Aha, I caught you. How do you know it doesn't have to be green?" 3 women retire to the monastery and interview the parish priest. "Have you been good in the world?" "Very good. Even after I got married, I remained a virgin." "Perfect. You get the golden key." To the second woman, But you, how good were you? Well, I was a virgin before I got married, but then I wasn't anymore. You get the silver key? To the third woman. And you, my daughter, how good have you been? Not at all. I had sex with anyone, anywhere. You get the key to my room. The director started yelling, "It's impossible! This company is like a madhouse!" "No," answered an employee. "It's worse." "How do you mean worse?" yelled the headmaster. "In a madhouse, at least the director is sane." The boss asks his employee, "Do you like warm beer?" "Of course not." "But do you like sweaty women?" "No." "Then it means that you will take a vacation during the winter." 3 friends brag about their wives. The first, "I have a wife like a dragonfly." The second, "Mine is like a deer." The third sits, thinks, and after 5 minutes says, "Well, mine doesn't really look like a human either." Little Red Riding Hood was picking flowers in the forest. Suddenly the wolf appears and takes her on his back. Beanie, "What was that, wolf?" The wolf, "I scared you." Little Red Riding Hood, "Scare me one more time." The wolf does his job, after which Little Red Riding Hood tells him, "Scare me one more time." The wolf scares her once more. Insatiable Little Red Riding Hood, "Scare me one more time," at which the wolf loses its powers. Woo! A man talks to his estranged girlfriend. "I miss you. Come home." "I can't forgive you. You knew I hate lies, and yet you lied to me." "Love, I should have been the one upset, because I found you in bed with someone else." "That's because you lied to me that you were coming on Sunday and you came on Saturday." 2 friends meet. "How are you, dear?" "I'm angry. My husband seriously offended me." "How so?" "Well, I asked him to give me $200 to go to a beauty salon, and he looked at me and gave me $500. Last Halloween, I yelled at my wife, 'Honey, there's a witch at the door. Open it.' 'Yes,' she says. 'Give her some sweets and give her to the dead.' Since then, my mother-in-law has not spoken to me. A witch, hearing that the miracle pill Viagra also works on women, took one and left for the forest. A raven sits on her shoulder, of course. The witch meets a young man and, overcome by a spring wave, says to him, 'If you recognize the creature sitting on my shoulder, I will give you a night of love.' The young man concentrates and says, 'An ox?' To which the witch, 'You are an ox, but this time pass by me.' A guide explains to tourists, 'In this fortress, the last witch was burned alive.' 'It's not true,' sighs a tourist looking expressively at his wife. A guy goes to a witch famous for her power to break curses. When she sees him so bitter, the witch tells him, 'Well now, so that I can release you from the curse, you must tell me exactly the words that bound you. I declare you husband and wife. Honey, look how nice the weather is outside and you're sitting in the kitchen washing the dishes. And what should I do? Go outside and wash my car.' A man is talking to his girlfriend. Tell me something that will drive me crazy. He, the neighbor bought shoes like yours. A guy confides in his girlfriend. Honey, I cheated on you with another woman. Can you repeat? Sure, I'll meet her tomorrow evening too. A fire breaks out on board a vessel at sea. To reassure the passengers, the captain said, Don't worry, there is enough water, enough for everyone. 2 pirates, a bottle of rum. One of them, with a hook instead of a hand, a wooden leg, and a glass eye. The other, curious, asks him, Where did you lose your leg? I once fell overboard, and before my boys pulled me out of the water, a shark appeared and left me without a leg. But with this hook instead of a hand? An enemy cut my hand with a sword. And how did you lose your eye? I was looking for a bird flying over the ship and it perched right on my eye. And how? You lost your eye from a chicken. Hey, it was my first day with the hook. 2 sailors discuss. When I go down to land in 2 minutes, I have 2 women in my arms. I don't believe you. There is no such fast tattoo. A woman is looking for a book in the library. The husband asks her, What are you looking for, dear? Do you know where that book, How to Live to 140 Years, is? Yes, I just threw it away. Why? Your mother has started reading it. An Englishman, an Irishman, and a Scotsman play golf with their wives. When the Englishman's wife climbs a hill from where she was supposed to hit the ball, the wind lifts her skirt and leaves her in her bare bottom. "Oh my God, but where are your panties?" asks the Englishman. "I didn't have enough money to buy myself," answers the wife. Embarrassed, he takes out 50 pounds and asks her to buy a pair of panties. It's the Irishman's wife's turn to hit the ball off a mound. The wind blows, it lifts her skirt. Oops, she didn't have panties either. Her husband asks her, "Why aren't you wearing panties?" "I couldn't afford it with the money you give me for expenses," his wife answers briefly. The guy takes 25 pounds out of his wallet and sends her to buy a pair of panties. The scene is repeated identically with the Scotsman's wife. She didn't have panties on either. At which the Scot takes a comb out of his pocket and says, "For God's sake, go and tidy up a bit. Mom, now that I'm 18, will you let me wear a bra?" "No way." "But can I put on makeup at least?" "Not." "What about a mini skirt?" "No." "But can I at least have a boyfriend?" "Victor, I told you no." Talk at night between three wizards, English, French, and Romanian. English: "I managed to move a mountain with my wand." French: "I managed to make the sun disappear and reappear with a simple wave of my hand." The novel: "Guys, do you know that I can find out what time it is with a stick and a pot?" Wizards: "Impossible." The Romanian takes the stick and hits the pot as hard as he can. Then one appears at the window of a block of flats. "Well, it's 11 at night. You can't sleep?" In the cemetery, the gravedigger dug quietly and, from time to time, also smoked a cigarette. At one point, he sees a hand coming out of a grave. Keep digging and smoking quietly. Not long after, the dead man emerges from the ground. The gravedigger digs and smokes quietly. The dead man tries to scare him. The gravedigger digs and smokes quietly. He sees that the dead man has nothing to do with him. He heads towards the cemetery fence and wants to jump. Suddenly, he wakes up with a shovel behind the back of his head. The undertaker: "We laugh, we joke, we don't leave the premises." Convinced that a wife meant an extra expense, a Scotsman did not want to marry. But reaching a certain age and beginning to realize that he will be alone in his old age, he finds a woman who will agree to marry without a wedding dress and without the party. On the wedding night, to warm the atmosphere, the woman whispered in his ear, "You know, dear, I don't have panties and—" Ah, I knew that the expenses would start.